So, good evening, everyone. My name is Anmol Sagar. I am an IAS officer of 2019 batch, born in Maharashtra, Cadar. Um, First of all, I would like to tell that these are the tough times that are going around in the country, and I hope that every one of you are restricting yourself in your houses and following the lockdown properly. And it's better not to venture outside till the time the lockdown isn't completely over. So just keep yourself safe, your family safe. It's very important. And today, coming to the session, I'll be talking about preliminary examination, the small tips which are important for clearing this examination. So as we all know that the preliminary examination, there is no certainty with respect to the prelims. So as of now, it is scheduled on 31st of May, but right now we don't know whether it will be held on that particular date or not. So, but what I believe or what I suggest to all of you is that whoever is giving prelims this year, keep in mind that the date is only 31st May. Keep that mind frame and prepare accordingly, so that nothing happens at the 11th. Whatever happens at the 11th hour, you're ready for it. So so let's talk about prelims. So as we all know, prelims basically comprises of two papers: one general studies and secondly CSAT. The merit is made, or the selection is done on the basis of the marks obtained in the preliminary, the general studies paper, and the CSAT paper is just qualifying. You need to score more than 66 in order to get in order to pass that stage. All right. So there are certain things which I'll be covering. For example, what are some of the important text or some of the important books which you can study for the prelims and mains both, because the preparation is not absolutely isolated. It's just combined in many ways. So and then I'll be talking about what are the extra efforts that you require in order to clear preliminary examinations. So let us start with the important text and important sources from where you can study. First of all, it is important to know that there is no separate preparation for prelims. You prepare for mains first, and then on the basis of that you give certain amount of time to prelims alone, but the preparation is more or less combined. It's fluid. It's not isolated in nature. That's first thing. So such one of the most important source is your NCERT textbooks for all the major subjects like science, history, geography, economics, etc. And newspapers. The reading newspaper is extremely crucial. It's very crucial because most of the questions are either framed directly from there or indirectly from there, especially with respect to polity or environment, for economy, etc. And in newspapers and NCERTs, these are the two most important sources which you cannot forego. Right. And then apart from newspaper, you should also cover one of the monthly magazines which are made by different coaching institutes or any other online material. But that monthly magazine needs to be done because it covers news and headlines from various sources, and it is an amalgamation of all the news. So that is very important. You need to study it and study it diligently. So that's that. And apart from that, the important sources which are for important books which you require, like for example, for polity there is Lakshmikant, which you should study. Like, it should be done multiple times and revised multiple times because many questions are framed from that book with respect to polity. For environment, we have Shankar IAS. I studied from Shankar IAS, so that is a very nice book. But apart from that, you also need to focus on different websites like of UNFCCC or UNCCD or UNEP. So there are different websites also which you need to focus on, because many a times the questions come from those websites, from the About Us page, so you need to cover them as well. And then for geography, you have to rely on the 11th standard NCERT, and apart from that, you can also read GC Leong. These are two important books which you need to cover. But NCERTs are indispensable for geography because if someone is not coming from a geography background, he or she will not be able to understand the major texts unless and until his or her basics are clear. So NCRTs and GC Leong are sufficient for geography. For economics, I believe NCRTs, yes, definitely. And apart from that, there is I referred to the yellow book of Vajiram and Ravi. That yellow book of economics is very nice. You can you should actually read something from there, because majority of the content is very much relevant, especially with respect to Indian economy and certain terminologies in micro and macroeconomics which are generally asked in the paper. So the yellow book of Vajiram and Ravi is it's a good source apart from the NCRTs and the current affairs. So in economics, that will suffice. For modern Indian history, there is a book by Spectrum Publication. It is written by Rajiv Ahi sir. He's an IPS officer. So that book is it's a small book but a very thick book. It's a very nice book for UPSC preparation. It covers everything in brief manner, and you can answer most of the questions from there if you study that book. So but it has to be revised multiple times. So that book also should be Indian history. This is yeah, this should be done apart from the NCRTs. All right. So apart from that, this is the other source other book for the medieval Indian history and the ancient Indian history. You need to rely majorly on the NCRTs of 11th and 12th standard. They will be more than enough in order to study the history portion of for the UPSC. And then comes the art and culture. For art and culture, I relied on Nitin Singhania and the fine arts textbook of I think it's of 11th standard or 12th standard. You can check. So there's a fine arts. There's a textbook on fine arts, which is a very good book for studying art and culture. That should be done. And apart from that, you have Nitin Singhania, which can be covered. And if you have time, and only if you have time, you can also refer to the CCRT website. It's a Government of India website on art and culture. You can go through it and see whatever is relevant and read accordingly. But that is only if you have time available with you. It is not a mandatory source. So that is there. And if I don't know if I'm forgetting any subject, current affairs I've already told you how to cover. And environment, yes. So these, and apart from these are not the books for the preparation. There are other books also, and some I know many people who have not referred to these conventional sources and studied on their own from their own sources, and they have cleared the exams. So it is not the golden list or that you have to follow in order to clear the exam. These are the major books which generally majority of people study. So you can focus on these books also. uh, this is with respect to the book list. And with respect to CSAT, which is GS paper 2, for that it depends from which stream you are coming from, because that will determine your strongholds. For example, I come from the humanities background, so my stronghold was comprehensions and reasoning. My maths portion was not very strong. So as a result, you need to understand which area you need to focus upon, and please don't take CSAT lightly, because as we have been seeing that the level of difficulty of CSAT is increasing. So we cannot take that paper lightly at all at any cost. So please solve the previous year question papers, and also make sure that your strong areas are absolutely strong so that you can rely upon them during the CSAT, because the time constraint is the biggest challenge in the CSAT. So you need to manage time, and that can only happen if you give a lot of mock tests of CSAT. So please don't take CSAT lightly, and identify your strengths and weaknesses and work accordingly. Yes. So and I don't think you should devote great amount of time for CSAT, but yes, sufficient amount of time should be allocated for the preparation of CSAT also. So these are basically broadly, I would say, the book list and strategy for the CSAT. Now I will talk majorly about the GS paper 1. Yes, someone just texted science and technology. Yes, for science and technology, what I did was completely relied on the current affairs and all the major inventions which happened, the all the relevant inventions in the field of biotechnology, nanotechnology, robotics, computer science, and these which whatever topics are mentioned in the mains GS paper 3. Those topics I took and found out the major inventions which took place in the last few years, and those inventions you keep on reading when you read the current affairs, so you get a grab of it, like which is which is important and which is not important. So that is important. From science and tech, basically you can prepare from the current affairs only, and if your basics are very poor in science, so you can just refer to the 10th standard NCRT. I think that will suffice. The 10th standard NCRT is pretty good for science and technology. If you read that and then read the current affairs, nothing like that will be the best possible way to cover the science and technology part. So yes, so since now the book lists are completed, now I will talk about the strategy as to how to proceed towards this GS portion of the preliminary paper. See, the one and the most important thing is not to prepare for prelims solely. If you prepare for that solely, then the problem is that your mains preparation will suffer. And secondly, you cannot answer the prelims questions unless and until you have a theoretical background in your mind. And that theoretical and understanding or appreciation for the theoretical background comes only when you have already prepared for your mains syllabus. So it is very important that you prepare for mains first and then you come to prelims. It sounds really ridiculous if for a beginner, but that is how you do it. You devote maximum time to, let's say, 8 months to mains examination, and then 4 months for broadly speaking, of course you don't have 12 exact months, but even if you have, then 8 months for mains and 4 months broadly for prelims. That's how you conventionally go for this examination. So preparation for mains is very important when you cover prelims. That's first thing. Secondly, your analysis of the current affairs needs to be very, very strong. If you analyze last few years papers, you will see majority of the questions have some backtracking to some kind of news. For example, if there is a crisis in bank, you will see questions related to NPAs. For example, if there has been some summit about environment, so you will find questions about the organization which conducted that summit. So indirectly, some of the majority of the questions, I would say, are related to current affairs, except for the subjects like let's say history, which is absolutely static. You don't have any current affairs in that. So you need to read newspaper in such a way that you can predict that some kind of questions can be developed from this news. You need to read your newspaper in that way. So when you read for example, if you read a particular news about, let's say, banking reforms, so you should know what were the earlier banking reforms which were proposed, how the recent banking reforms will be different from the earlier ones, what is the major thrust area of the banking reforms. So this way you start developing your own questions, and from those questions, indirectly or directly, some question will come up in your prelims paper. So in some way, some questions can be predicted. There is no 100% strike rate over there, but yes, more or less you will be there. This is how you prepare for questions, like you predict questions. So most importantly, the crux of the matter is read the current affairs not like news readers, but as an aspirant, so that you can predict some kind of questions, or develop some kind of questions on your own. This way you will be productively reading the paper. That is very, very important. So that's when it comes to the newspaper. Now thirdly, many people come up and they say that the prelims paper is becoming very unpredictable, and the questions are coming from nowhere. I don't know all the 100 questions which are asked in the paper. I could not attempt so many questions. So these are the basic doubts which generally appear in the mind of an aspirant. You all need to understand that no one out there knows all 100 questions. You can, but it is still very important to attempt as many questions as you know. So how do you do it? Like when I gave my prelims of 2018, there were 100 questions, and out of which I could attempt around 87 questions. And but how did I do that? It was not that the paper was very easy. The paper was as difficult as it has ever been. But the thing is, you need to know the skill of elimination. I always say that knowing a right answer is not important in prelims, rather than knowing the wrong answer. If you know the wrong answers, you can basically eliminate majority of the options and then come up at the right option. So this is how everyone who clears prelims follow this strategy. So I did that, I followed that, and my result was good. I scored 108, which was a very good